Today, I'm going to make a video about Sam Vaknin's more recent video about how women want men to come back. So this is a response video. This is Radical Self-Respect with Jared Mello. Now, jumping right in. No preamble today. So Sam Vaknin, there are a couple things that he said in this video that I agree with, but there were more things that I disagreed with. So first, the agreement. He had said that women are becoming more like men. They're becoming more bullies, and they're becoming more psychopathic. Now, I agree with that for some women, not all women. Sam Vaknin tended to make a lot of generalizations in this video, as I'll explain further. So yes, I do agree that some women are doing those things. And he also said that it's going to take a while for women to really learn how to be more like men. And I agree, but I agree for a different reason. Because I don't think it's that women should be more like men. It's more like men should be more like men, and women often should be feminine. Now, granted, it all depends. It all depends on a lot of different things here. But ultimately, Sam Vaknin's message is that men are pathetic. He mentioned stats like men under the age of 25 play video games 4 to 6 hours a day. He said that men are all addicted to porn. He had said that it's men's fault that women are becoming more like men. And the future, he says, belongs to women because their skill sets are more congruent with what our future is going to be like. Marketing and networking and empathy, etc. But at the same time, he said, like I said before, oh, wait a minute, they're going to need a while to really understand how to be men. And he says men need to learn how to be more feminine because they're not developing their feminine sides enough. And at the same time, he said, wait a minute, women are leaving because they want manly men. They go to other countries to find manly men, sometimes minority men, because they have more gender roles in those places. There are more men. So as you can see, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth here. He's contradicting himself. Now, he blames men for everything, but we got to rewind the tapes here to see how this stuff even started. The birth control pill in 1964, revolutionary thing, gave women control of their reproductive process. Humongous invention. Changed everything from there. And then we've had decades now of feminism. And feminism teaches women to be the strong, independent woman. That they can do anything they want to. They can be just like men. And it doesn't talk about too much about the rewards and the benefits of actually being a mother and raising children and being housewives. They really look down upon those things. But I think they're very necessary. I think they can be very helpful. I believe that, if a woman wants to be the strong, independent woman, so be it. But the ones who don't want to be that shouldn't be shamed. I think that's rotten of them. And so that's how it's gone. And they've also demasculinized men over the last several generations. And there's statistically, testosterone levels have gone down since our grandparents' generation. Generation by generation, this is true. And they're shaming men for being masculine. They're shaming them so that when boys are growing up, they feel like it's wrong to be masculine, that it's toxic, and it's something they need to get rid of. Hence ads like the Gillette commercial. This is what men are growing up in. They're growing up in all of these media and social media, movies, TV shows, showing men being buffoons, showing men being weak, showing men and the nerdy men and the loser men getting the girl. All of these things that in reality do not happen. And so Sam Vaknin seems to think, though, it's just that men are pathetic and they are nothing, that men are nothing. Now, first of all, I don't think what Sam Vaknin is saying here is pragmatically really helpful at all. Because I don't think he even has people's best interest in mind. I think he's just spewing to cater to his base of mostly women. And I don't think he really cares about men one blink. He mentions groups like MGTOW and Red Pill are misogynistic hate groups, misogynistic groups. And He says they've been created because men have had a narcissistic injury, and they've been mortified, and they become MGTOW, or they become red pill. And I don't agree with that either. And he also says that, like I said, it's men's fault. Everything's men's fault, and they need to step up to the plate because he thinks we have no future. And I couldn't really disagree with him more, because a lot of parents, a lot of children, period, are growing up in single mother households. They don't have any male role models. J. Cole made a song about this. No role models, especially in the black community. And this is a problem. There's not enough good, healthy examples of men. Masculinity is being shamed and being labeled toxic even by the APA. And this is why people are not growing up into the masculine men that people seem to think they want. Now, women, I think, do really want this, whether they know it or not. Only some people are aware of wanting it, because they've been socially engineered to be the strong, independent woman. They've been socially engineered to never settle, that they deserve the world, they deserve everything. But like Kevin Samuels says, a lot of these women who want their men to be the 6 sixes, which is 6-figure income, 6-pack abs, 6 inches in the pants, and a few other sixes, I can't remember which, these women are average at best a lot of times. But what is this? This is hypergamy. Sam Vaknin talks about how women are more educated right now, and education is one of the biggest indicators of how much money people will make in their lifetime. This is true. And men often are not as educated. But here's the thing. They might not be formally educated, but they are still entrepreneurs. They're doing skilled labor positions too that actually pay pretty damn well in this day and age. It's just that sometimes women don't like the status of that guy. They want the guy to have a certain level of prestige. And when women are making more money, then what happens is fewer and fewer men look economically attractive to them. Now, another thing he said is that a lot of the beta men, his words, not mine, women are going with them. And I'll say, partly I'll agree, because narcissistic women, they want a guy they can browbeat a little bit. They want a guy that's going to be a pushover. So I can see it in that case. But men, and then he goes on to say there's still a gender pay gap. And we all know what the gender pay gap really is. It's that men and women choose different work. And the work that men choose pays more than the work that women on average choose. If you go to the same Wawa or store and you compare a man and a girl's check, that woman is not going to make less than the man for the same job. That's the myth that's been propagated that a lot of people still regurgitate without looking it up. But what it really means is women on average choose careers and professions that don't pay as well as the ones that men typically do. That's what it is. So women, they want the world, but as Kevin Samuels says, a lot of them are average at best. And so a lot of men have been left behind because the beta bucks, as I always call it, side of a hypergamy, it's already taken. They don't need a man for financial support when they have enough money to live on their own, when they don't need to rely on a man for anything. They don't need to settle. So what's happening is, though, there's a lot of women who are just becoming resentful. And the only side of hypergamy that's left is the alpha F's side, which means they only want the Chad. They only want the Tyrone. Now, just by definition, not all men are going to be able to be that. There's going to be a majority of men who are not that. And so the other legitimate gripe that men have is that the court system is railroaded against them. And that if a man gets married today, all it takes is one person's vote in the partnership to end that partnership. And then the man will be on the hook for child support, alimony, half of their assets, depending on the state. So why would a man ever put himself in that situation to do that? Why would he ever? It's the unconscionable contract, as Rollo Tomasi always calls it. How could a man set himself up for that, knowing the consequences? And so unless there's going to be a lot of, unless there's going to be a lot of reform in the law system, why would men ever join this contract? But Sam Vaknin doesn't look at this reason at all. He just says it's men's fault for playing video games and being addicted to porn and not being manly enough. And then at the same time saying they're not being feminine enough either. And so he just blames men for everything and doesn't take a look at the fact that we live in a gynocentric social order. We do. We live in a gynocentric social order where the feminine correct way is the right way. And Sam Vaknin, he personifies this perfectly. He's thinking the feminine is correct. They are the correct way to think. The feminine imperative is true. And so everything that doesn't align with that is bad. And his message says that quite clearly by calling men pathetic, by calling them non-entities, but he's not looking at the reasons why things have become the way they are. Where anyone who says it's just one side or the other, they're full of it. Everyone could probably do better, but in the system, like the family law needs to change. There needs to be to stop this shaming of masculinity. Weak men do indeed hurt people, and there are weak men right now, there are. Strong men is what are needed. Strong men help the world go around, and it puts things in their proper place. But when we have women trying to be a man with breasts and a vagina, things don't always go as planned. We're seeing more and more single women than ever. Now, is that a problem? Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. Sam Vaknin seems to think it's a problem because he seems to think that it's not by women's choice that they're still single. He seems to think it's just because men have left. Men are not stepping up. He's saying the old tradcon argument, the personal responsibility argument, which is, oh, men just need to do better and step up and get married and take on the risks, regardless of how terrible it could turn out. But I think that's dumb. Considering how difficult it can be financially for people today, it's dumb. It's dumb to put yourself in that situation as a man. So you shouldn't. And so I could see myself wanting kids one day, but marriage, the way it's set up right now, I'd be a fool to do that. But again, Sam Vaknin only sees the side where women are right. Every bad thing women have done, it's just a response to men and things they've done and pushed them into becoming that. And so, all responsibility for one side with no authority. That's what Sam Vaknin's promoting. And women, all authority and no responsibility. And it's just not right. It's not right, and there's reasons why things have come the way they've come. I think men need to learn how to be men again. Traditional masculinity should be promoted like it's supposed to be. In order there to be sexual attraction, there needs to be a masculine and a feminine pole. It's just the way it is. And so whether the woman is the masculine or the man's the masculine, they're going to need the opposite to have sexual polarity. And so, unfortunately right now, though, I think a lot of this stuff divides between Republican and Democrat, conservative and liberal. Where Republican and conservative tries to be more masculine, and the Democrat side, the liberal side, is often more feminine in nature. Unfortunately, a lot of tradcons, they all just say personal responsibility for men. But that doesn't mention the rampant feminism, the gynocentric social order. There's a lot of pieces of this puzzle that need to change. And I think Sam Vaknin should do a little more work into why men have made the decisions they've made. I'm going to make a video soon called What About the Losers? Dan Carlin made an episode about What About the Losers in terms of financial losers. And he said something I think is really smart. He said, it doesn't matter if people think it shouldn't be that way, or they have all these opportunities. If there's enough people who are unhappy in a system, it doesn't matter. If that group becomes large enough, there might be hell to pay. And I think there's no reason why this won't be true for the sexual marketplace as well. If there's enough people who are unhappy, particularly men, in this social sexual marketplace, then the board's going to get turned over. And rightfully so, though, in some of these cases, because we're being pulled by the powers to be in every direction, whether it's feminism, whether it's race, whether it's rich, poor, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat. Like, we're being pulled in every direction except together. And so it's a bad state of affairs we're in. But to say it's just all men's fault and that men are pathetic and everything that women have done that's negative is just men's fault, that's just careless. And it was almost like he's trolling is how careless he's being. Or it's just maybe that he's been so indoctrinated by feminism and the gynocentric social order, which, let's face it, academia is that. So if nothing else, academia is huge in feminism and huge in the gynocentric social order. He probably doesn't even realize he's in it. But if you were to take a step back and try to look at it from a man's point of view and what it looks like from their angle today, I have a hard time believing he would reach the same conclusions. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate he thinks that. But we need more people that are going to see both sides, because, yeah, there are some women who have gripes too. And it's wrong to think they don't. But I think a lot of the gripes that the women have, they can also blame the powers to be. They can blame the gynocentric social order. They can blame feminism. They can blame all of the propaganda people see every day about how masculinity is bad and that the being like a woman is more correct. The feminine way of thinking is the correct way of thinking. That's what we're bombarded with. That's what kids are being brought up with. That's what's in the school systems. So younger and younger, they have this. And these kids, they don't have a chance with it because they're getting them so young. Their brains are still developing. And when they get them in school, in kindergarten, middle school, high school, unless they have parents that are actively teaching them otherwise, I don't see how they have a chance. So there's so many things that need to change right now. And I think there's a way to do it moving forward in the middle. But I do not think Sam Vaknin's message is pragmatically helpful at all. He's just guilting and shaming men, calling them pathetic, and catering to his woman fan base, more than likely. And he doesn't even realize he's part of the gynocentric social order. He's in that way of thinking. And it's sad. So that's my video in response to Sam Vaknin's video. Let me know what you think. Am I off base? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So with that, thank you very much for watching and have a good rest of your day.